What is up, Ayden Ames? The coolest name. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks, Annabelle. I'm really excited and I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, well, we are thrilled to have you on the podcast and heading into your junior season at Creighton. But I'll start by asking the question that I ask everyone on the show. It's what are you all about right now? And it could be something big, it could be a new smoothie place you really like, a life hack, bucket list item. What are you all about at the moment?
I'm all about coffee right now. Honestly, I'm all about finding new coffee shops and, testing out the different lattes around the area. Since I just moved to Omaha in January, that's kind of been I've been on like a little kick to find a bunch of different coffee places. So I've been super obsessed with that right now.
What's your like go-to coffee order? Are you going cold brew? Are you going latte? Like what are you getting when you go there?
Yeah, so I'll get a vanilla sweet cream cold brew sometimes, 'cause I like the coffee and the creamer, but not too sweet. So if I get a latte, I'll be like, half sweet, quarter sweet, something like that, but I'll always ask the, coffee shop like, "Hey, what's your most popular drink?" And I'll try that first because I wanna really, get to know that place for what they're popular for and not just kinda get what I like. I wanna know what they're good for too.
Hey, that's what I should be doing. Usually I get so excited when I go to anywhere that's like not Starbucks or Dunks and I like freak out like, "Oh, cold brew, like black with almond milk. That's it." I was like, "That's not what I wanted." Like I wanted
Yeah,
like the real deal. So,
yeah.
that's good advice and good encouragement because I'm going to take you up on that. But I love it. And something that's going on for you this summer is you're competing with the US under 21 national team at the Pan American Cup in Columbus, Ohio, which congratulations. Like number 1, what an incredible honor and so cool to represent the country. What was that tryout and training process like for you?
Thanks. Yeah. So I went to the collegiate national team series back in February in Colorado Springs, and I was invited amongst a bunch of different of like high level collegiate volleyball players. And from there, depending on your age group, depending on kind of your level, you would get maybe invited to the VNL roster, you get invited to the U21 roster, U19 roster. And they kind of wanted to do a training series with a bunch of the high level athletes so that they can, see where we're at going into the fall, like going into the summer and then the fall. And so luckily and gratefully, I got to get invited to the U21 national team this summer. And I am so excited just to be able to represent USA is just such a blessing every single time. So I can't wait.
It is so exciting, and I think a lot of people they if they've never gone through it, you really don't know how intense that just process is. What was maybe the hardest moment for you throughout that process? Whether it was a drill, it was just coaching advice, or just the fatigue of how intense it really is.
Honestly, it's just the mentality to keep going because there's so many good players in the gym. I mean, they're going to have their highlights, and sometimes their highlights are on you. And, sometimes you get stuff blocked. Sometimes a libero makes a great dig on your incredible swing, and you just kind of have to keep going, knowing that you're playing with incredible players. And so it's just really strengthened my mental game as well, really, boosted my confidence just to be able to be like, "You know what? These are good players too, but, I'm a good player as well, and so, I'm gonna bounce back and keep going," and, that's definitely been a struggle, but I've been definitely a lot better at, my mental game recently.
Well, I can't even imagine how much that just helps you when you go back into your college environment because they're both, different in multiple ways and have their own things that make it hard, but so much confidence probably that it can give you as well just going back into your school team. I'm curious, did you growing up have dreams to play for the US team? Was this ever something that ever crossed your mind that you would have the opportunity to do?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't. I was a huge soccer player, and I didn't even really play volleyball until middle school. And so growing up, it was always like, "Oh, I wanna be on, the soccer national team." And I had all these soccer, women's idols like Alex Morgan and all of those amazing players. And so being able to, switch into volleyball and regain that confidence back, after, not having the best first couple years after being a little baby giraffe out there and not being able to, control any of my limbs and trying a new sport, I definitely had to learn and understand, maybe this could go somewhere. And as soon as I realized that, I really wanted to dive deep into that, dig in, and, really try and maximize my potential. So I'm going to keep going as long as I can, hopefully play pro volleyball after college and, try to see where this can take me.
I love that, and isn't that cool? Like, that was my experience with sport too. I also wanted to be on the US women's national soccer team because we just, like,
Yeah.
grew up watching them in the World Cups and the Olympics, and it was so exciting and so fun, and we actually recently just recorded a podcast with Julie Ertz, which was, like, starstruck moment for me because you watch those women play, and especially for her, someone who was bold about her faith was so cool because it wasn't always something that I fully saw on TV or social media from just female athletes growing up. So she was one of the first people. So did really love following that team. But it is crazy how God really like will put the right sport in your life, right? It's like I
Yes.
tried to play basketball and basketball didn't choose me, but like my sport was lacrosse and that's how it came to be. I'm curious for you, just now kind of zooming out and now being on a US team and getting to wear the red, white, and blue. How did you have to lean on your faith through probably what was an intense time and hopefully too so much more pro volleyball opportunity for you in the future?
I mean, honestly, my entire journey has been so difficult just going from, just starting in middle school to, kind of gaining some leeway in high school and kind of starting to believe in myself and, maybe having some people on the way that had a little pushback on me, maybe like, oh, she's not as good as this and that. And, you also have the social media pushback and you have some coaches pushback and you have some teammates pushback or some outside noise pushback. And it's always going to be there, no matter what sport you play and no matter how high level you are. But I think what I had to realize and I had to understand was that, God really placed a dream in my heart and he placed that in my heart at a younger age. And I wanted to remember the girl that had started playing volleyball when she was 13, and I wanted to remember, why I really started playing and how much I really loved it, and I really wanted to lean on that when things got hard and to understand that, God did place that dream in my heart for a reason, and if I could really, use this to, really dive deep into my faith and understand my role in the world using volleyball, not I'm not Ayden the volleyball player, I'm Ayden who plays volleyball, and my identity is in Christ. And I just really leaning into that really helped me, like, keep going when things got hard, especially, like, knowing that it's not going to get any easier from this point forward. So
That is so beautifully said, and it's not going to get any easier. I remember having a very specific moment after my freshman year of college. Like I was running on the treadmill and saying to myself, I think the workout was it was like right after my season. It was my first workout after, taking a little bit off. And I remember saying, nothing will be harder than that. And like, nope, I was totally wrong. It got way
yeah,
harder. Like actually I
every
was
time.
completely wrong. Yes. It was that. And it just how it goes, but I love that you so early are able to just say, "Hey, I know the Lord has like put this desire in my heart." And for you to lean on that foundation is amazing because there's so many opportunities in sports because it is so hard and so many voices and noises like you said to listen to outside noise and just lies, things that just are not true. So I'm curious for you to have that foundation so early on and understanding that. When did you really start pursuing a relationship with the Lord?
Honestly, I have been Christian my whole life, but I didn't really start diving deeper into my faith until recently. And when I got to the University of Texas 2 years ago, and now I'm at Creighton, but 2 years ago when I got to the University of Texas, I was honestly surrounded by a great support staff, whether it was, my teammates, I got really involved with AIA, which was like Athletes in Action down in Austin. And, I got to go to winter conferences and I got to be a disciple and I got to like evangelize for the Lord. And I just got to really understand what it was like not only to be a Christian, but to be a Christian athlete. And what like my support staff did at Texas was they really taught me how to keep going when things got hard, even when, you are an athlete. Because, it's different. I think athletes do have a lot of different struggles in life when it comes to self-worth and self-image, based on worth coming from your sport. How do you deal with a bad game after? How do you deal with a bad practice? How do you deal with getting benched? And that was where I got super in touch with my faith, and I am so grateful because, like, there are lessons and everything that I learned, I will, take into the rest of my life, and I give all my credit to them.
That is amazing. You mentioned athletes in action, and I know the impact that that has for so many college athletes. I attended athletes in action at Boston College, and it like completely just changed my experience at school. Like, not even just like my faith, but like my school experience, because now I had different friends as well. And I had a whole
Yes.
nother circle of people who I might not even seen more than once a week, but I knew when I was passing them in the hallway or seeing them in the fuel lounge or like we're getting our ankles taped together that like, hey, I know that like you have my back and I have your back. And I care about you on a really deep level. I'm curious for you to go to some of those winter retreats and even just go to the basic weekly meetings. How did you handle like prioritizing your faith in college when there were a million other things you could be doing personally, but also like, yeah, I got film and I maybe get tired. Like, how did you
Yes.
really take that step to be obedient to the Lord in what was like, hey, this is totally up to you?
Yeah. Honestly, I realized that whenever I dove deeper into the word, I just felt more refreshed. Like I felt peace of mind. I felt things that I didn't feel when I was just relying on my own brain, my own self, my own body in this earthly world to like rely on. And, after a game, if I sat by myself and, spiral in my head, it was 10 times worse than if I were to, maybe dive in the word or maybe say a prayer, talk to the Lord, something that, because the Lord is just so much bigger than myself. And since I'm able to have him to lean on, in all those times, in good times and bad times, it's just, he was so steady for me, the entire time I was there. And that's what kind of kept me going. I loved going to weekly meetings. I loved going to church on Sundays. I loved doing all of those things. And obviously still do those things. I got involved in FCA here at Creighton, and it's awesome just to be able to gain that community here in Omaha too. But, just, the feeling of the peace of mind that the Lord would give me every single time, and being able to come out of maybe a trial on the other side and understand, "Hey, this is why the Lord put me there." And, like, to see that and to realize, like, "Hey, this is why this happened," like, way later, that also kept me going.
That's so good just about like, hey, what is the Lord doing through this? Because there's so many times I'm like, well, what other choice do I got? And
Yeah.
even just I love what you said about not wanting to be in your own thoughts and like what the Lord has for you is just or can help you understand is so much bigger because
Mhm.
oh my gosh, me being in my own thoughts like after a bad play or getting benched or a tough game, like bad drill at practice, like no, get that out of here. Like I do not want to
Yes.
hear myself, right? We can be crazy sometimes. And so I think that is, I love how you just explained the importance of that in your life. And you did mention just your transition from Texas to Creighton. And so exciting that you are already plugged into a community there. I'm curious what went into that decision making process, which was probably very difficult.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I think entering, a colder state in the middle of January when everyone just kind of balls up in their room and doesn't go out, you're kind of like, hey, like, where's all the people? What's going on?
Yeah.
And so it took me a little bit throughout the semester to get plugged in. And then we actually had a transfer from the University of South Florida. We got into talking, and she is huge in FCA. She's on the soccer team, and she invited me to FCA. I was like, thank the Lord, I got someone to reach out to me because I was really looking for this. And I got involved in FCA, and I try to go to weekly meetings, and they just are so awesome. We, dive into a passage, we talk about it, we relate it back to sport. We'll pray for each other, we'll play fun games. And again, it's just such an awesome community that I'm so grateful that I found at Creighton.
What's your friend's name that transferred as well on the soccer team?
Her name's Macy Felton.
That is
So,
so awesome. It's like so great
yes.
that you have someone. And I think too, like the cool part about that moment is like you're kind of like, all right, where's everybody? It's cold. I'm looking for community, trying to get plugged in. And like she took this step to invite you into FCA and like to reach out to you about that. And like that takes boldness, right? Too. And so I
Yes.
think you just never and someone for you who like loves Jesus and you're all about it. And it's like you just never know like who you can really impact with just a simple like invite or just being a little more outgoing, right? Like we all have a little
Yes.
bit of I don't wanna say we're all shy because that's not everyone's personality, but we all have a little bit of hesitation when we are
Always.
concerning whether or not we're gonna invite someone to do something or reach out to someone, and so cool that you already have that relationship. What has been a moment just in the few months that you've been at Creighton where you felt like, "Man, I know that this is home right now?"
Wow, that's a great question. I would honestly say my second meeting. because, I went to the first meeting. It's obviously a little bit nerve-wracking seeing, a bunch of new faces for the first time, being like, wow, maybe I'm the only one from my team here. Maybe I don't know anyone here. And, we kind of, we went through the meeting and I felt refreshed after. And as soon as I came back to the next meeting, it was like, hi, Aiden. How are you doing? It's great to see you. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I have finally immersed myself in this school. And, these people, these young men and women that I didn't even know their names last week. Now it's like we're saying, again, like what you said earlier, we're saying hi to each other in the hallways. We're saying hi to each other, in the athletic facilities. And it was just like, wow, I'm so glad that I did that because it not only like keeps me involved in the word, but it also like really expanded my Christian community here on campus. And it's huge because Creighton's a Catholic school. So, there's obviously a bunch of, Catholic kids, but there's a bunch of Christians as well. And so it's awesome to be able to just like come together as one and just really just all dive into the word together.
I love that. I was recently talking to someone about going to a Christian university, and sometimes because you're surrounded by it, you can just feel like, "Oh yeah, like I care about my faith, I'm involved in it." But like it's even happens to me for a faith in sports podcast. You think just because you're going to a Christian school or because you're talking about Jesus, like does not equate to like doing life with him, right? It's like, no, no,
Right.
no. Like it's so easy to just get caught up in like your surroundings and feel like you're covered in that way, but it's like you have to be super intentional about like I'm not just going to like get complacent with this because when life hits and if you were just kind of like soaking up your environment, it's so great that that's the environment, but like you got to really plug in and you got to really like, hey, am I actually doing this relationship with the Lord on my own? And so I think there's plus and minuses to it, and you just have to have that like self-awareness when you're around that. I'm curious for you, just in the short couple months that you've been at Creighton, is there anything that you can already tell that you're especially thankful for and grateful that you experienced while you were at Texas that you're like, man, I know that the Lord prepared me big or small for this now at Creighton?
I think the Lord placed me at Creighton for a reason, and I'm getting little hints about it now, but I think I'm fully gonna understand after I leave, and honestly, I would say the community and just, like, the people that I'm surrounded with, like, my coaches that I'm surrounded with, my teammates, all my friends that I met in FCA, like, all my professors know me by name. I would say just, like, the attention to detail that Creighton has had on my life, it really, puts life into perspective that, maybe you're not just a number. Maybe you're an actual human who maybe has faults sometimes, and people will look at you and say, we want to lift you up and we want to make you better. And, it kind of makes you want to make other people better as well, just being surrounded by such an uplifting community. And I think Creighton has really helped me realize that, you can really have a huge support staff around you that really wants you to succeed. And it's not just maybe a couple people here and there. It is one of almost every single person in every single aspect of your life that really cares for you and wants you to succeed. And I think that's huge because I believe that, if someone really wants you to succeed, you will succeed. They will make sure you'll be uplifted, you will be supported, you will grow as a person. And like having that support staff has just been huge.
And it certainly helps that just with the growth of volleyball, it's on such a bigger stage. So you're going to be getting those resources everywhere in your program. And also so cool when it's backed by like a genuine care for you and your teammates' success on it and off the court, right? Like growing you as humans throughout these short years in college. For you, just having had now 2 years under your belt of college volleyball, what has it been like to play and get to perform on such a massive stage? Like it is absolutely mind-blowing the fan bases and the crowds that women's college volleyball has been able to have over the last couple years.
Honestly, that's so true. My first game of my entire career, I played against 14,000 people, and I was an 18-year-old
That was your
freshman.
first game ever?
That was my first game. We were in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, playing against the University of Wisconsin, and, coming off a national championship, the girls before me, I wish I could have been a part of that, but they obviously won that, and then coming into my freshman season, it was 14,000 people, first game of the year, August 20 whatever. and I was 18 years old, and I was so scared. I was so scared, but I think being able to realize that that is the culture of women's volleyball now, you will have thousands and thousands and thousands of fans at every one of your games. You will be on Fox Network, you will be on ESPN, you will be on all of these, huge TV platforms, and just the platform that you get from women's volleyball is huge. And I learned that, instead of being afraid of that, is to embrace that and just be like, you know what, like this is where women's college volleyball is heading. And, I really want to, use this to my advantage. And I mean, being stopped in public or little girls coming up to me, it's like the best feeling. And just to know that, maybe you have an impact on more people than you think. It's really inspiring and eye-opening knowing that you have a bigger impact than you think. So just being, cautious of what I'm saying, what I'm doing, how I'm acting on and off the court. It's, it's really changed me as a person and I would say made me better.
That is so important what you just said there, being cautious of everything that you're doing because, oh my gosh, the amount of women's college lacrosse players that I like followed and stalked and like hung onto their every post and watched them after the game and, watched them sign autographs and sign me get their autographs after like college games. I would loved it because those are your superheroes. Those are your stars and girls that you want to be if you are a young girl who wants to be a college athlete someday. And so it's so
Right.
important now that you're in that position to have an awareness of, okay, I am being watched, not just by those 14,000 people in the stands, which is crazy that that was your first game, but
Crazy.
also by the young people who come to our clinics and our like summer camp and the post game autographs, like all those little moments. Take me back to that first game. I'm sure a lot of growth of just learning how to handle performing, trying to execute all the things you practice all week on your game day. What did that look for you to handle the pressure and execute literally just on the court?
I mean, honestly, I probably played quite average, to be honest. I think I was fighting back on those like moments of nervousness, and I was like, come on, like just, one point at a time, keep going. And it was just that constant battle with my own head that probably held me back. And so I just think from that game forward, I think realizing that, your mental game is a huge part of your game as well. And just to embrace moments like that is huge. But, I think before the game, I was trying to calm myself down, remember my training, remember why I'm here, remember that people trusted in me to be out there. And that's all that I could lean on in that moment. I couldn't go out there and have another practice. I couldn't go out there and get a couple reps. It was like, this is game time and, it's time to perform. So just kind of getting rid of all of that side chatter in my head and just performing is what I had to do.
And that's why you practice because you're like, man, I'm ready for the test. Here we go. Like this is you're
Yes.
right. There's no more opportunity to get any practice reps. And with the big stage and the big platform, like you said, it's so cool. Like, oh my gosh, just to have the opportunity to play on the biggest stage and for your sport that you love to be celebrated so well is incredible. But also I'm sure really hard because as you become more in the public eye, more of the voices creep in. And there are more people that have an opinion even like internally, right? In your program, then you got to deal with everything externally. So, how have you learned to handle the spotlight just through social media and the fans and how what comes with the job of really you're playing a college sport, but I mean, at this point, it's really much so a pro sport.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I learned I would never take criticism from someone I wouldn't take coaching advice from. So if there was, a random comment on social media with a user who has no profile picture, or maybe, and, someone who is hiding behind a screen, I realized that I would never take advice from them or criticism from them, knowing that I have people with me supporting me every day in practice, people that know my know maybe my pros and my cons of my game, like kind of fine tuning everything. They know my strengths and my weaknesses. I know that I would listen to those people who have my back day in and day out rather than maybe someone who's trying to hide behind a screen and just put negative thoughts in my head. And it helps just to be able to not look at it because when you ride the wave of social media, you will be on a high one day and you'll be on a low the next. And I realized that if you ride the wave, you will have your emotions will be everywhere. You will spiral one day, maybe you'll think you're the queen of the world one day. And honestly, that's just so unhealthy that I just need to focus on what I'm doing on my side And then when I trust what I'm doing on my side, then all I know is that everything that I leave out on the court, that's good enough.
And there's so many barriers too that you have to put up because even if we say that and we believe it, you're still going to see the stuff and it's still going to make you feel a certain way in that
Yeah.
moment. But I love the kind of rule of thumb that you said if they don't have a profile picture, like, come on. And so I think I got to
Yeah.
use that. I think a lot of people can have that. And it's like, how fast can you rebound? Like, really, like, no one, we're all human. Like, no one's perfect. No one's going to be like, truly bulletproof, but you can have that completely bounce off of you. How quick can that
Yes.
happen? And so I love that. And like you said, the coaching advice and like taking criticism from certain people rather than others. I'm curious for you when you look back at just your youth volleyball days, was there a specific drill or something you did in your backyard or when you were at the gym by yourself that you're saying, man, I was doing that and it actually really helped me develop a certain skill or helped me be the player that I am today?
That's funny that you mentioned that because I actually posted on TikTok. It was a funny trend, but it was a video of me when I was like 13 years old. My mom and I were in some random gym in the middle of Southern California. That's where I was from originally. And we were doing footwork on and off the net with tennis balls in my hand. And I was transitioning off the net. I was doing my approach back and I would throw the tennis ball over the net. And I was probably too small to get the ball over the net, so I would throw it through the net. And my mom and I did that a lot. She was a volleyball coach growing up, and she actually got me into the sport, initially. And she was my coach for a year before she ended up handing me off to some other coaches so she could watch me and, follow my volleyball journey from the parent side of it. And she helped me a lot those first couple years. And that I vividly remember that drill of me, skinny as can be, no muscle tone, with a tennis ball in my hand, transitioning on and off the net, with my mom. So, yeah.
That is so special. How has your mom influenced and just made an impact on your college volleyball career now?
Yeah, honestly, we bounce a lot of ideas off of each other, for short periods of time, because sometimes we both, when we get super passionate about volleyball, we'll get frustrated super easily. And she always says she either has the coach hat or the parent hat on, or the mom hat, the coach hat or the mom hat. And she's always like, "Which hat am I wearing right now?" And as soon as we kind of, get past that and we, start chatting about volleyball, we'll bounce ideas off each other. We will talk about strategy. She'll be like, "Hey, can I suggest something?" And I'm like, "Oh Lord, here we go again." But
You're like
she
three
honestly
compliments and then one piece of advice. It's
I
coming.
know, I need like a sandwich here. But she honestly has been my biggest supporter. Like, she has been the one that's been there for me from the time I was born to here right now. And she, rain or shine, she will support me in any way. She will be honest with me when I need to hear the truth, which, hurts in the moment, but honestly probably should be grateful for at the end of the day. And I could not be more grateful for her or, getting me into the sport of volleyball in the first place. And, she's been awesome.
What a cool connection. And even just to take it back to, and I'm going to have to go find that TikTok after our podcast, but just to think back to like the moments that you were able to have with her as well, because so much of your sport is focusing on those championship games. I have to get to that goal. We got to win this playoff game. The moment when you get your first start, all the things, but really like when you zoom out, it is like just the joy of the sport that you get to play and the opportunity to have the freedom to do that and to play the sport that you love and use it as an opportunity to go to incredible universities. So just so cool that you have that special connection with her. But speaking of incredible universities, Creighton, just your first couple impressions with your first last couple months with your team. What is this year's team like?
Oh my gosh, this year's team is so energetic and spunky, and they just have so much drive. I would say we have so many competitors on our team, and we have girls that will go all out every single play. We have girls who are, super tough on themselves, hold themselves to a high standard, make sure that they're performing for not only themselves, but the girls on our team, because we don't only just want to do it for ourselves. Like, we're here for, you know, the good of the team. And, we have some goals set for ourselves this year. We've made it to Elite Eights in the past, but we would set history by making it to a Final Four. And so we have, not only a Final Four, but, once we make it there, it's like, we just keep changing our goals to, a national championship game and then a national championship. And so we just set high standards for ourselves, knowing that how great of athletes we are and how great of athletes we're surrounded by. And how awesome our coaching staff is. So we honestly are so excited to play. We're excited to get back out on the court, and I'm honestly excited to see everyone when I go back to Omaha this week.
Yeah, it's just like seeing your best friends again, you're right? Like, "Oh, man, like, I miss you guys." Like, that's, like,
I
just the fun part
know.
of being back together as well. What will the I know you haven't fully gone through a Creighton, like, preseason, but what does that normally look like getting ready for your season to begin?
Oh, Creighton preseason's tough every single year. I know that, when I was in my recruiting process, our coach, Brian Rosen, he was like, got to be ready to play from day one. Like, we have our double days in preseason practices. And then he said, you got to be ready to step out on that court and play Nebraska, to play Texas A&M, to play Louisville. Because, those are the teams that we will be playing in the preseason. And just knowing that they really challenge us in ways that, make us better, make us better early on. I think it's so awesome. I think it's so beneficial to our game. And just to realize and learn a lot about our team early on to be able to, fine tune those things as we go into conference, go into Big East play, and then going into postseason. And it's been so like I think it's been so helpful, that philosophy of starting strong early on. And since I haven't done it yet, I'm kind of excited to see what that's like. So
It's exciting and certainly going to need to recharge. And I know you've been through maybe not Creighton's preseason ramp up, but another schools in Texas. How do you recharge when you come back from a two a day? What are you doing when you get home? Are you like a just like turn on a fun show? Are you like, man, I gotta have the Normatec boots on? Are you like get me my favorite meal? How does Ayden recharge? Like what's your ideal post two a day recovery like moment?
yeah. Well, honestly, I'm going home with an ice bag on my shoulder, an ice bag on my back, an ice bag on my knee. I have like a bunch of things going at once. And once I get home, I take a shower and I sleep, I knock out. I am so exhausted. I'll probably, scroll on my phone for a little bit, which is probably so unhealthy. Scroll on TikTok, turn my brain off, hang out with my roommates, and yeah, probably DoorDash because I'm lazy, or Uber Eats. So that's definitely how I unwind, but make sure that I, get my stretching in. I do the boots always. I try and do cold tubs when I can, just stuff that, also recharges me before I go home. And then I can, scroll and do all those dumb stuff. But when I'm at the facility, I'll make sure to do ice, ice baths, Normatec, all that fun stuff.
Hey, I'm sure you racked up the miles. Volleyball isn't like a long distance running sport, right? But you guys are making your rounds around the court. And so you definitely racked up enough steps to earn the DoorDash and the Uber Eats for sure. And I do think sometimes like we think, oh man, like I just, laid on my phone for a long time, which is true. Like we shouldn't like just do that all the time and doom scroll. But there are a lot of times when I'm on my phone or I go on TikTok or Instagram Reels, I'm like, this is hilarious. And I'm just laughing
I
for like 10
know.
minutes straight. And I think when you do everything in moderation, like it's and you have the right, barriers up, it's okay. And if you're especially if you're engaging with your other teammates that are also laying in the room when you're sending funny videos back and forth to each other, like you just have to understand how to have a healthy relationship with social media because it can be an amazing, awesome tool. And like truly, it introduced me to you. And I think social media is an awesome opportunity too for young athletes to see the right role models that they can be following. And so it can be fun. And even the TikTok that you made, like how cool. Maybe some young girl is gonna go see that TikTok that you made with, with the tennis balls and your mom and just think, oh man, maybe I'll go do that with my friends or with my mom. And so I absolutely love it. But speaking of some young girls, I'm sure there are countless young women who would love to wear your jersey someday. And your volleyball road just so far, it has not been a straight line. We haven't mentioned it yet, but you were committed to Nebraska originally and then switched the commitment to Texas. And now you're at Creighton. So, what piece of advice maybe would you give a young volleyball player, or even just a young athlete who might feel like, man, I thought I was going to play soccer and now I'm not, or man, I thought I was going to go to this school and now I'm not. How would you encourage them to handle just the change of what life can bring?
Yeah, honestly, my journey has been everywhere. I'm happy to say that, I am stuck. I'm not going anywhere. My collegiate volleyball career is ending at Creighton. So I'm happy to say that, and happy to say that, I found my place. But I would say the biggest thing that I learned in that journey was that the people make the place. Because I have so many friends from all over the country. Oh, I love my school. I love my school. I love my school. But they're all different. But the one thing that they have in common, and the one thing that I learned that what I was truly searching for was like the people that make the place. And, every university is going to have the facilities that you want. They're going to, play the cool games. They're going to, have some cool fans. But who has the coaches that have your back in times of need? Which places have the teammates that lift you up when you need it? Which place has, the athletic trainer and the strength coach that maybe notices some weaknesses in your body or maybe some weak muscles and really pays attention to those and works on them so you have success? Like, which school is it that has people that care? And that's the one thing that's the biggest thing that I realized. And if you are a young girl that is going through the recruiting process, looking for a school that you want to find home, is what are the people like? Do the people care about you? Do the people want you to succeed? And sometimes you don't really know until you get there and experience that. But if and when you're in your recruiting process, that I would, number one, put that forward. Like, will I mesh with my coaches? Do they want me to succeed? Do they want me to be the best player? And that's it. That's gonna make your entire experience.
Man, that is so awesome that you can already say that and already say that you're home, and so cool for you to now know that. And thank you for sharing all that advice. Like, I feel encouraged even though I'm not going to play college volleyball. Like, I truly, like, you spoke so much life today, and this was just such an encouraging conversation, and so excited to cheer you and your whole team on this season and get to know that group of women. Like, this has been so much fun. And seriously, Aiden, like, have an amazing preseason. Get those ice packs on everywhere you want to do it. Make some fun TikToks while you're laying on the couch and order some good Uber Eats and DoorDash. Okay, Uber Eats and DoorDash. What is your
Oh.
best place in Omaha that you would recommend door dashing or Uber Eatsing from? If that's a Uber Eatsing is a verb.
Wow, yeah, right? That is a great, great, great question. Oh my goodness. Well, if you are on the side of wanting to splurge a little bit, I would say go to Memoir. That is just such an awesome downtown restaurant. I would say it's just beautiful. Obviously, you got to hit up Blue Sushi downtown. That's an awesome DoorDash Uber Eats. If you're on like more of like the casual side, a bunch of Nebraska natives rave about Runza. I've had it once. It is beef and cabbage and cheese, but apparently it's really good. If you ask a Nebraska native, they will rave about it. So ask them about Runza. But other than that, if you want coffee, go to like Dundee Double Shot out in Dundee. It's awesome. And I would say those are the three that came to mind first.
All right.
But
Hey, maybe I'll take you up on
yes,
the coffee. I don't know about sushi from Nebraska. I don't know. Maybe we do
I
more of what the
know
locals are like. Yeah,
I was
but I like
skeptical,
it.
but it's really good.
Okay. Hey, you know what? The best sushi I've ever had was shockingly when I was living in Indiana, which made no sense, right? So, you know
Really.
what? We're going to try it out. But seriously, Aiden, thank you so much for making time today. Like, we are so excited to cheer you on. And if it's not just me, everybody else has got to take her up on the coffee rack. So, seriously, thank you so much. And have a great rest of your summer and go USA.
Thank you. Thanks for chatting.